right? How do you evolve into that?
I just decided I wanted to draw hands.
And
I'm not very good at it.
Are you Lyra, just like wanting hands all the time?
I was just like, wow, this horse needs a hand right now, and then I did it. But I'm not very good at hands. Hands are kind of hard. So
It's the fingers part of it, right?
yeah, the whole hand part. The fact that you have to draw it. So I mean, you can have them like hiding somewhere and apply hands. Rayburn, why don't you tell us about how you got started?
Whoa, okay.
Eat ice cream.
You brought out the share, right?
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Do you like the knife?
Knife.
They were all out of spirits.
Look who showed up. Chris. Yay.
Well, we've gotten started, and honestly, they were telling us how they got into art.
Woo!
Yay.
So, like, as most people who, you know, become artists, I started drawing when I was little, mostly just coloring books and stuff like that. I remember finding, getting a hold of a couple how to draw books. I know there was a how to draw SpongeBob and a how to draw the Powerpuff Girls book that I had, that I made my own coloring books out of.
Which one was your favorite, SpongeBob or Powerpuff?
SpongeBob.
It was the SpongeBob one.
Yeah!
SpongeBob one.
You
Yeah.
draw Patrick Stars, like that, like asterisks.
I couldn't draw Patrick very well, but I could do SpongeBob by heart, and I still can.
Is that where your shark dog came from? Everyone go look on his
No.
DVR account, little light
No.
25, and
No.
I'll go like, find Dorothy's shark dog, it's awesome!
Okay, so like I started with just like I started doodling as a kid, but never really got totally into it. And then it was about 3 years ago that like I started realizing that you know, you can do art digitally, like through tablets and stuff. And I thought that was really cool. So, and I was seeing all these people who did it really badly. Like seeing terrible art done digitally, and I was like, it can't be that hard. So
It is that hard, I'm telling you, it is.
I got my own tablet and I started doodling around, and I was terrible at first. Like I started with like pencil sketches and then scanning them in and then digitalizing them, you know, stuff like that. But eventually I just like worked up to doing digital art and just became really acquainted with my software and learned how to use it, and just got really big into digital art. And people started liking it for some reason. And I just kept drawing what I like drawing, and people kept liking it. So that's how I got to where I am.
Now what about you, Zach, Hourglass? I mean, your necks are really long. You ever see his stuff, it's like long necks. That's not even his fault.
Oh no. Oh well. Let's see. When I was a child, I could never color. I couldn't even color. Did I turn this off?
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works.
Left two. Push them up. This, yeah. That was the right two.
Make everything red.
Up to the
Whoa, that's live. Okay.
up to the
So, when I was little, I could not draw at all. If they'd give me like a coloring book and I'd grab some crayons and I'd break the crayons and then eat part of the crayon. And
Does the other one taste like banana or lemon?
I'm gonna let you just use your imagination on that. If the lemon one doesn't taste like lemon, and the banana one does not taste like banana.
Okay. Okay.
But if I ever got any wax on the actual page, it was not inside the lines anyway. So growing up, I didn't do art or anything. When I got a little older, I started doing what's called vexel art, which is a lot like vectoring what I do now, but based on pixels very heavily. And I mostly colored in different sketches and things like that that I just doodled. And from that, I started watching the show, and then I said, well, I should try this vector thing out, and now I make small horses in a vector program.
Make small horses really big.
Yes, that's a great way.
Well, you tell us, you and all your Dragon Ball Z stuff.
Well, my story is not as in depth as these guys like they get. Mine. I didn't really get into art seriously until my senior year in college, which was almost 3 years ago, which is scary. I don't like to think about like, oh my gosh, senior year. I basically started out just doing a bunch of different sketches, just dragging stuff I got into, and just trying to get on par with what was trending at the time. And if anybody knows Citrus360, the artist, he was the guy that got me into MOP because I was on his live stream one night, and in February, he was saying, hey, you gotta look at this new show, it's really cool. And then from April to May, he was bugging me every single stream to actually watch it. And actually came onto my stream and said, he kept linking me the MOP episode. And I just moved into it. I kind of liked it, and I really liked it. Like about a day later, I went through all of season 1. In about less than 48 hours, I went through all of season 1.
It's a typical story.
Yep, and that was fun. But
It's like an addiction.
Well, true. And then I don't know. I just started doing different Dragon then MOP crossovers, and that worked its way into what I do now, which is comics. And I just absolutely love comics because you can do so many different stories with it. And I felt like I missed out on a really good creative portion of my childhood, and I kind of am reliving what my childhood is like speaking to me right now. So yeah, that's me.
What about you, Sophie? How did you get started?
Well, actually, I started from a very, very early age. One of the first presents my parents ever gave me was this easel that's like, it's a little tiny, like, kid-size easel. And I would do finger paints, and I eventually worked up to brushes and drawing. And throughout my childhood, my parents always really encouraged me and signed me up for after-school art classes and the whole 9 yards. And eventually, I just learned that was my passion in life. So I actually went to college for animation. I worked a little bit in animation, but ultimately started doing freelance, which was a little more profitable, a little more fun. And I ended up, now I do costumes, and I also do comics and graphic novels, which is my main breadwinning career now. And I started out with the ponies, and I kind of just sketched them and drew them, and I was doing all my stuff digitally. I switched over to digital in college when I actually got a tablet PC, because I could never do the Wacom tablets that you draw blindly on. I actually had to switch over to a screen that you draw directly on, which is way nicer for me personally. And I just started doing all my stuff digital. And then the last couple months, I switched over because ultimately I like storyboarding, which is mostly like doodling and drawing very loose sketches, and it's my favorite. I've never been particularly interested in inking and coloring. And so with my friend Kinket here, she started painting all my sketches, which I found to be pretty fun. I get to sketch, do all the loose stuff, and she does all the coloring, and it's pretty nice. Are you too shy? Do you want to talk?
Hi. So I guess I started drawing when I was really little. I don't really remember when, it was so long ago, so old. But yeah, I grew up on a farm, so I basically had nothing to do any of the time except for run around outside with a sketchbook drawing things. So I did that a lot. And then I started painting things, I guess, when I was like 14, and just kept doing it because I like colors. And that's awesome. And then I went to college for art too, so I did that. And I had this strange, amazing idea when I was a child that if I was an artist, then I could have a job where no one could tell me what to do. And so I thought that would be great. Sort of works that way, but not entirely.
Shouldn't you be working?
Well, you guys can probably hear me without the mic. If you guys have any questions at all, don't be afraid to raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm going to keep on asking questions.
Oh man, I feel really bad now that everybody else has an art major. I didn't have a meteorology major. This is really weird.
Hey, apparently you haven't talked to me about storm chasing on Skype, so someday you get.
I can do it.
But we got a question in the back in the black shirt.
Black? Oh, turn it on.
Yeah, in front of you.
What programs do you guys really use?
Oh, the programs.
Yeah. Stand up and ask again.
What programs on the computer do you use to get to narrow it down, or do you prefer sketchbook and paper?
Oh, okay, I guess I'm answering that. I know Rayburn and I both use Paint Tool Sci, or Easy Paint Tool Sci, which is aptly named because it's very lightweight. Like the whole program's like only a couple megabytes. So super lightweight, super easy. It has really nice, smooth lines. Really friendly, great for people who like to draw very sloppily. So it's like, hey, I'll help you out, not so bad. So that's always good. I know some people use Photoshop. Usually they get a more painterly style through Photoshop. not to say that Sai can't do a painterly style, but people who use Photoshop usually get a really nice painterly style.
It's
Other
because there's a lot more brushes available
Yeah,
for Photoshop.
well, it's just, there's lots of filters you can screw with it, like all sorts of different ways. It's just, it's mostly friendly for painterly, rough, like you can even make it look like you charcoal sketched. It's great. But I couldn't do that because my computer can't run it. Does anyone else, oh, you like to do traditional drawing, don't you?
Well, I draw traditional, but she paints.
Oh, okay, well then, anybody else want to add on to that while we go down the line?
Yeah. I usually the two programs that people most use are Paint Sai and Photoshop. Though I know a lot of people use like Art Rage or Illustrator for vectors, or Inkscape. There's a ton of them. Fire Alpaca.
Gimp. Oh. Wait, we don't need to discuss why I use them all.
No. Everyone starts out in GIMP.
Yeah, I know.
And then they learn better. But Paint Sai is basically like it's something really easy to understand for beginners, but also if you know how to work it, can do everything you want it to. And it's also very lightweight, so yeah, it's very easy to use.
Well, I'm kind of different where I don't do any traditional art at all. I can't draw like stick figures. I primarily work in vector art. So I can use Illustrator if I feel like it. I can use Flash some for vectors. I prefer Inkscape or the modded version that I beta test called Ponyscape, which has special features that are good for making ponies and pony-related accessories. And there are a few features I've suggested in there as well that I really like to use. So I use Ponyscape primarily. It's got all the color guides and everything. And it's really intuitive for vector art.
Okay. Mine's really simple. I just sketch, and then I literally only use Photoshop. I don't even know how to use Illustrator. I don't know how to use Photoshop side, and I tried using GIMP for a little bit, and that lasted all of less than a month. And no, it's literally just Photoshop. Like, it's not just Photoshop. I use Photoshop CS6 now. Go me. But no, I just like sticking Photoshop because I can literally just get away with a lot of different things. I can do a lot of. I don't know. It's just for me. It's an easier program because I used to use Photoshop a lot, and I was taught a lot of Photoshop when I was in high school by my awesome computer teacher. But it's just a program that I'm more familiar with than any of these other ones. Even though I gotta learn how to use Illustrator, which someone has to teach me.
Like everyone else here, it seems, I mainly use Sai. I use a mix of Photoshop and Sai. I find that Sai is really good for sketching and inking. I think it has a much more natural feel than Photoshop does. Photoshop always has that slight delay to it that I feel that Sai really has fine-tuned. Also, Sai has a lot of functions that I think work better than Photoshop. However, once I'm done on a serious piece, like usually if it's just kind of like a small commission or anything, I'll do everything in Sai and color it and everything. But on more serious, like larger pieces for publications, I will sketch and ink in Sai and then switch over to Photoshop and color. So I use a mix of the programs, and I find that works best for me. I used to use like Corel back in the day and all that stuff, but I find that a mix between Sai and Photoshop is just amazing.
I don't really do digital art, but I have used Illustrator, which is awesome for vectoring.
You use acrylic paints, don't you? Or
Yes.
So like if you mess up, it's like permanent.
No, you can paint on top of that. Like, you can just paint layers, just hundreds of layers.
Well, so no matter what you do, it's always on layers. Like
Yes, you just can't undo them. You just keep going on top of it. But they don't crack. Yes, but yeah, I just mainly paint everything. Well, I do. For acrylic, I use golden acrylics, which are liquid, so you don't have to like water them down as much. But for watercolor, I use Winsor Newton. I like it. I mean, it's all good. This slightly more expensive stuff usually has better pigmentation, so it doesn't. You don't have to put as many layers. It doesn't look as pale. But there's no need to get like this insanely expensive paint. It's just necessary. So.
Right. So basically for, lots of people have a question of what I draw and then she paints, and lots of people are like, how do you do that? Because I live in Florida, she lives in Colorado. So I sketch inside and then give it to her. She prints it out and uses transfer paper to transfer it to the wood that she paints on, and then she paints it. So it's kind of like a program, wood. Oh yeah, she scans it in Photoshop and then uses wood.
I got a question though. Is there much of a difference to painting on wood, to painting on some sort of canvas?
Well, wood is cheaper by far. Okay, just speak loud.
Wood is much cheaper to paint on. Like, you could get a giant ass piece of wood for like $10.
Yeah.
Sorry, a giant large piece of wood for $10.
What type of wood is it?
I use masonite, which is basically, I guess it's pulp, like that fiber that's like compressed together.
Oh.
It's like sawdust.
That's really smart.
I like it because it's exceedingly smooth. You don't, and I don't actually prime it, so I just use the tone of the wood quite often in the painting. But I mean, you can use canvas. It's way more expensive. I don't really like it because you're limited to certain sizes, and you have to learn to stretch it, which is a pain in the ass. And also, it like sort of pushes it. Hated the flag.
There we
There you go. All right.
Questions? We got one right there.
I'm much older than everybody here I've been doing. I'm a 30-year graphic
You're
designer.
not older, you're just more experienced.
I'm more experienced. I'm more experienced. I've been doing graphic design for about 30 years, but I'm new to this genre. I don't do this. I actually do high-end magazine publications. So, but I'm curious as far as, you know, the print world and the digital world is so different when they're dealing with the web and dealing with print. What resolution do you, I know if you work vector, you can scale it to anything and the file size stays small, but do you work basically for the web or online, or do you work, like I know you guys work, so it's going to be print out, so it's going to be high res, you know, so you've got, but scalability is what's confusing me on what you guys are doing.
Usually when I work, I usually work a lot bigger than I need to. Most of my canvas size are like 4,000 by 4,000. But, well, for vectors, maybe. But like, but I don't know. For like painting and paint tool sci, that seems to be really big. Like if I zoomed in 100%, like the pony's nose will fill out the entire screen. You know, it's like really small. Like I could see a single nostril if I zoom in 100%. But yeah, I tend to work really big just in case, you know, I might use it for something. Usually, like if it's a high enough resolution, I can figure out a way to print it really nice. I really need to look more into it, like how much DPI and if it's CMYK or RGB or stuff like that. In order to like get the perfect print. But right now I just draw a really high resolution and hope it works.
And what's the end usage? What is the end usage for all of your offers?
The what?
The end usage. Like if I hire an illustrator to do something for me, it goes on the cover of my magazine, or it goes for an editorial
the end
piece.
usage.
What's
Okay.
the end usage of your design?
Oh, okay. Well, like when I get commissions and stuff, usually it's for like original characters or stuff like that. Usually when it's stuff like that, it's just yeah, it's just for web. It's just a digital image. Sometimes, like if the commissioner requests it, I'll give them. I usually give them the high res, like the biggest file I have of the image, and then maybe I'll give them the Photoshop or Sci file if they really want to look through that or do something with it. But yeah, it's mostly for web. If the commissioner wants, they can print it out themselves, I suppose. I give them the high-res files in order to do that. But yeah, it's mostly just for digital usage, unless I'm doing it for like a convention. In that case, I'll do it pretty much the same way. I just make it really big and try and get it like sized right, and you know, try and make my settings in Photoshop good so that they print good. I really should learn more about this, but they print really well. Like I save them to a PDF, and the print shop likes that. And they tend to be pretty high resolution. And, they export to PSD.
That's wow. It got on to me when I gave them
Yeah, I save them as a PSD, and then I can bring them into Photoshop, and then save them as a PDF.
Yeah.
I have horrible print etiquette. In fact, I don't know what I'm doing. Give me that. I don't think that. Oh, who knows what they're doing when they're printing?
No.
Oh,
No artist knows. Oh my god.
Oh, okay. You get a point. You're a good person. Great.
Well, in the last like 2 years or year or so, I've started doing.
In the last year or two, I've started doing stuff that is actually geared towards publication. I mean, it's a graphic novel. It's going to be a book, and it's been a huge learning curve for me. I was the same. I kind of was just like, I'm going to take commissions and do web images, but now I really have to know about DPI and sizes and make sure that the templates are for my pages are all laid out. And it's really a lot to know, and I didn't realize how in depth that sizing can go. And I always mess up, and I'll do an entire page and realize it's 72 DPI somehow, and I'm like, oh, I'm fine. But usually I work, especially if I'm doing stuff for print, 400 DPI. And then if I'm doing stuff for her to paint, I really do just, if it's we work kind of small. It's 5x7 canvases on average that we use, and I will draw exactly that size in high res. Sometimes we'll take it into a program and do color testing. So it needs to be kind of higher res for that. But mainly I just draw the exact size that the canvas is going to be. So, it's
a different world.
It's a different world, and it's a lot of learning, and I should actually even be better than I am now. But I have learned a lot in the last year about publishing, and even color libraries. And does this company do Pantone libraries? It's a whole thing that you have to know. So it's very interesting. And if you want to get into publicizing, whatever that word is.
Publishing?
Publishing, yes. If you want to get into publishing, it's really something you should learn. Yes. Get back to work.
Now, for me, it's different because if anybody actually sees how I do my stuff, my sketches, I'm not kidding, they are literally that size. Each pony that I draw is probably the size of a quarter. And I have a bunch of sketches in my room on a piece of printing paper. And when I scan them in, I make sure my scanner scans them at 300 resolution. And that's the way I will line art the sketches in Photoshop using that resolution. And I'll make an entirely new page and organize a comic, for example, in 300 DPI since it's already in there. But if I'm going to be doing that, because those comics are about, if you really took them, they're about a foot long to 2 feet long, and they're probably about 4 inches across, the entire comic. So when you try and take that small panel, for example, that I wanted to make it into a print, for example, like an 18 by 24 inch print, I can't necessarily blow that panel up size-wise. It's just going to get blurry. So unfortunately for me, I don't work big. I like working small and just taking whatever I have. Let's say I don't know which ones I'm going to make into a print eventually. So if, let's say I want to take a certain panel, I'll crop out the panel and I'll blow it up to whatever it is, 18 by whatever. Let's just 18 by 24, and then I will redo the entire panel, I'll correct all the errors I have in it, and I can really get fine-tuned with correcting all these little mistakes I have. Like I'm saying, the line art that I used to this, it was bad. I'll make all the corrections and I'll flip the canvases several times to make sure I get it all right. But that redo one will be at already 300 resolution, so it's already and set and ready to print just fine. That's why I like doing it my way, because I start small, because I don't know what my comics are going to eventually turn into, and it's less work from working in big, because my computer just can't handle a huge file. An 18 by 24 inch file in Photoshop, it slows it down. I even have to put my computer in basic mode, and it still struggles with it at times if I get more than a gig into the file. But that's just the way I work. It's just work small and just go up from wherever I need to get printed and redo it to paint. It's usually a day-long process to redo one panel.
Vectors are so nice. I have none of these problems whatsoever because I can export at whatever resolution, whatever DPI I want. The only thing I have to worry about is colors, make sure I'm in CMYK mode, and it's just so nice. Even if you use Illustrator, it's especially nice because you just hit one button and it switches all over to CMYK. Inkscape and Ponyscape don't have that, but it's just so nice.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You got any questions out in the audience? Yes.
Yes. When is your, or what's your book of graphic novel about, and where can I buy it?
My graphic novel is called Caterwaul. It's youth literature, aimed mostly like at anywhere from like 10 to 16, 17. But I like it. I grew up reading Redwall, and it's kind of it's kind of a nod to that. But it's going to be published by Silk Wolf is a publisher, and it's going to be available later this year. It's a big project. It's going to be like 100 pages, so it's not like a small comic book or anything. It's a very large project, and it's going to be over the course of 3 books that will be coming out over the next couple of years. My friend Kim Kat here also has a graphic novel. We actually met through our publisher, and that's why we're friends now. So if you want to talk about it.
Sure, I have a graphic novel actually. It's on silkwolf.com or on Amazon. It's called Nordgard. It's about sled dog people running around in the north saving people. It's all watercolored in sort of European graphic novel style.
It's all original. It's really cool.
Yeah, so I've dealt with publishers too, but it's different with traditional media, and you just have to worry about scanning it at the right resolution. So we usually do 400 DPI and then clean it up massively. Add all the text, make sure the whites are white, make sure the pages are in order. That's all.
Any other questions? Yes, Randy.
Have any of you guys worked in kid pics?
Yes!
And if so, which animation did you guys like best?
Thank you, Randy.
I like the twirling candlesticks.
Thank God.
No one else worked. I worked in Kid Pics. It was awesome. I just remember there being a whole bunch of sounds, and that's why I liked it.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Did no one else?
Anyone else?
Working.
What resolution does Kid export at?
I don't know. She doesn't here.
18 DPI.
18 DPI.
Guy in the white shirt, he's mad.
By the way, it's a
Troll face. I thought it said mad. I was question.
Yes. It's not a message, but I just hope that I would become like what you guys are, because you are successful with your art skills. And I say you are awesome at it, all of you. And I hope one day I become famous too. That's why I've been practicing so much about this art. Hopefully learn how to use it.
It does take a lot of practice. The thing to remember is that when we all started, we all sucked.
Exactly. How many bad sketches do you guys have? Like you will never show the world.
Everything before my recent pieces. I think that's pretty common. That like people tend to like their most recent art, the work, and the best, and that most stuff before that they seem to like always find more and more faults with the further and further they go back. But the thing I like about that is that you see that you're constantly improving as well, you know. So yeah, you just gotta keep
I gotta
trying.
check on that. I was gonna tag on to that.
Because again, I think I probably started out like from just how recent I started out with. I'm kind of more in touch with just maybe what you were going through, because I started out literally just again 3 years ago. I just was dead started out blank. But the thing is though, I look back at what I did 3 years ago and what I did in college. It's really a lot of people say like, oh, they look back what he was going into. It's like when you look back at your old stuff. It's frustrating to look at it because you're like, oh, I did so bad. Like, why did I draw this so poorly? But sometimes, like what he was also saying is, sometimes the newer pieces that you work on can sometimes be the best things. I actually sometimes don't work that way when I work on a comic. Some will be hit and miss. I'll say like, this one's great when I finished it, but is it better than one that I maybe had done 4 months ago? And it's sometimes tricky to look at it like that. But if you look at it from where you started in art, you will see every single picture you do. You will improve at least some aspect. It may not be right away, you'll notice it, but it may take about a month. And you can look back at I save all my sketches. Everything that I've done Pony, Dragon art, from when I started late 2010, I have saved it. I don't know why I saved it, it's because I like saying like, here's what I have, here's what I did, this is what I used to do. And again, even for this month, this entire last month of April, I have my sketches in April and they're all on one sheet, so I can look at it and say, wow, my front angle sketches were much better now that I started into May than what they started out when I was making the transition from March into April. I don't know, it will take time, but you will eventually get better with time. It's just it is frustrations that you have to go through, but you will improve with time. Oh yeah, you have another one?
Well, I'll tell you this. That's why I have like books at my house. A lot of books, would help you with just anything about drawing. And I'm learning how to draw dragons and fantasy stuff. And I'm actually learning how to draw a nightmare. This nightmare.
Oh, you can actually go into the book then.
I was trying to go for the nightmare from Wrangling the Guardians.
I mean, I do think that like how-to books are good, and they're definitely a good springboard. I think the most important thing if someone's looking to get into art is to draw what they see. You know, it's definitely fun to like draw ponies, but I wouldn't be able to draw ponies if I hadn't sat in art school for 4 years and drawn a cow skull, or drawn a bunch of crumpled paper and learned where shadows go and like how form works, or you know, drawing models in our classrooms, like anything from gestures, which are very quick few second drawings, to long detailed studies of anatomy. And you don't have to go to that depth if you don't want to, but I think it's definitely I think the point is that you should definitely draw what you're not comfortable with. Like if you learn to draw like a certain dragon that you're really good at, that's awesome, but you need to switch over like something that you're not good at drawing occasionally, just kind of, you know, switch up, you know, exercise your mind. It's really easy in art to just start getting in this rut where you draw what you know how to draw. And you'll just start drawing the same thing, and you can look through your sketches or whatever and see this pattern. And it's really important to start drawing what you don't know how to draw, and really, like, you know, kind of trying to expand, because you will get in a rut and you will start drawing the same things. So.
Learn the basics.
Yep.
I think I never did sure how to draw.
Salmon.
Sam was kind of paint color that red.
Specifically for spraying. You ever draw another shark?
We've been over this. Like,
We don't talk about our old arts. I know a lot of people have like deleted old galleries and like because they just hate their old art so much, or they're tempted to. It's fun to look back on, but it's still so painful.
if you ever delete it, I just want you to know I have to save up my desk.
Thanks.
Don't re-upload it.
So,
As do I.
Yes, you.
I'm curious, what is it that makes you get up in the morning and say, man, I'm going to do some serious art today?
Deadlines? No. Well, that's it for like convention stuff. But like,
I don't know.
I wake up and then mom's like, hey, you should do the dishes. And I'm like, I'm gonna do some serious art today instead. So let's go. Gonna draw everything.
Was done all day.
I am just so busy, Mom. I can't do the
So you
dishes.
procrastinate with art?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Feel like there's just nothing better to
It happens a
do.
lot.
It's really just elaborate doodling. I just want to draw because I want to. Whoa, I can speak words really well. I mean, people pick up video games. They want to play a game. People pick up books. They want to play. People don't play books. They read books.
Play a book, I can do that.
I just wake up and I just want to draw, you know? It's just something to pass the time and do and enjoy and all sorts of cool stuff. Apple Bloom, you're adorable, by the way.
Yeah. Really is.
Just a dog that's sitting there and she's just so cute.
What's your mind?
Yeah. It's kind of weird for me because like, I'll start to feel bad if I don't draw for a while. You know, like if I'm not productive and I don't like work on improving myself for a while, I'll start to get down. I'll start to feel like, man, I need to draw. I need to get some stuff out there. I need to produce something, you know? And like, sometimes it works, well, sometimes I get that and I just like work on commissions and work on prints and stuff. But at the same time, you know, sometimes it's just like, I need to draw something for myself too, right? And so, like, I don't know. It's good to have a good mix of like, you know, when you get, like the more you draw or whatever, the more popular you are or whatever, the more you might start drawing stuff that like isn't totally what you want to draw. You might feel like you have to draw a print today, or you have to get these commissions done by whenever, and you don't feel like drawing it. That can kind of like really bog you down if like you don't have something to draw for yourself every now and then. You got to keep drawing what you love to draw, like, you know, yeah. You just got to keep drawing what you love to draw, even if, you know, people are forcing you to.
We're clapping at you.
Everyone stare at RCR. Just for a couple more minutes.
Are you? So Zach,
I want to be the very best that no one ever was.
that's a lie. That's the very best that no one
As far as the mood goes, I am, oh boy. I usually, it's very strange for me because I'm a big sports person and I absolutely love sports. And it's very strange because the way I work, I usually take the entire middle of the day off just because I'm just either working or doing whatever. I find that I work better at night. I don't know what it is, but I'm a night owl and I've always been. Where my main time where I like to work is between 7 p.m. and I'm not gonna lie, I stay up until 6 a.m. a lot of times.
It's not night, it's morning.
That's night. Technically, I stayed up all night. There you go, technically. But anyway, I for some reason, that's my time. That's just me. It doesn't have to be anybody else. It's just, I can't really draw during the day. It's just my mind is just out there and I just want to do other things. But as far as just keeping in this drawing mode that I have, it depends on what I want to do. I have a very hard time trying to do commissions like Rayburn or anybody else. It's just, I like doing my own work. And it's very strange when my mind, how it's, because I think I just drilled it in my mind so much where it's like, I just can't really do commission work or requests so much because I don't get into it because it's not my own work per se. And it's very hard for me to get motivated to do it. This is why I like sticking to my own thing. I had to break that mode every now and then, but it's very, I've only done like literally 1 or 2 commissions in the last year so far. It just my mind does not want to work on it. But as far as just times and trying to get in your drawing mode, if I finish a comic or I finish a picture or something like that, I like to take 1 day off. Just take the day off to clear my mind and then just get going on my next thing. It's just, again, it's my thing. I don't know everybody else's thing. That's just how I work primarily to get in the drawing mode. I don't know.
Well, how I want to do art when I wake up. Well, first of all, when I wake up, I'd like my lights to turn on and my phone to work and my water to run. And that might sound cold, but art actually is my career. I do it for a living. I pay my bills with it. And that doesn't mean that I'm not passionate about it. I'm obviously passionate about it because I chose that as my career. Just like a doctor would choose his career because he wants to help people. It does turn into a job occasionally, and it's really unavoidable when I don't want to work. And sometimes I have to force myself to work when I don't want to. It's a lot harder because I'm my own boss, and if I want to take the day off, I have to ask myself. And I usually say yes. But I really have to power through that, and I find that I usually do, yes, want to make art because it's what I love doing. But if I don't, I have a few things. I'll listen to music that inspires me. I will, go and look at other people's art online, or I'll read. Reading really ends up inspiring me a lot, or really well done movies. If I see a really well, especially animated film, I just want to go home and work. I think after I saw How to Train Your Dragon, I went home and drew. I drew for about like 2 days straight, just doodled constantly. So you can really tell sometimes in my gallery when I post more casual sketches, you can kind of tell what movie I've watched lately or what book I've read lately because it'll totally be in that theme. But for me, it's sometimes a job. Kind of, I don't know. Do any of you guys do it like for a full-time living or?
I do.
Yeah. So it definitely like yes, and Ken Cat here does. So you want to say that?
I agree.
Yeah. She agrees.
I think we got time for one more question.
Yeah, I got a question.
How do you guys deal with critics?
Oh, yeah.
Good, good.
Critics or well, yeah. Do you mean critics or critique? Do you mean like any kind
A
of
little bit of
critique?
both.
Like way 25 years of fucking, I'm sorry. No, I'm not talking about she's used 50 years.
Okay, well, she cries. That's how she deals with it.
Oh no.
I think one of the most important things to have is a feedback filter. And that's like being able to separate what is actual good constructive critique and what is like specifically meant to be harmful to you. Because you know, those people exist. Those people are out there. They're always gonna be. But yeah, you gotta be able to figure out like yeah, it's constructive criticism. It's finding out like I don't know. A lot of people will be like really vague with comments on your artwork if it's just posted random places. Like that arm looks weird or something like that. And it won't be like any like weird critique, but like an actual yeah, but you know, they don't explain it, but they still have that kind of outside view of, you know, you're not the artist. They still see something that's a little off about it. And sometimes you can take that and like use it to your advantage, even though it's not a good critique. A good critique being, these are things I like about it, but these things look a little off, and here's why I think they look off, pretty much. I think like a good balance of things you like, things you need to change, that's a good critique. But yeah, just being able to figure out like what has good intentions, I guess, what has actual input on your work on it, and what you should just like ignore and not really reply to, you know? Yeah, or just like not try and, yeah, not really respond to them, but like, you know, realize that they have an outside view on your artwork and you can still take that to your advantage. But yeah, it's important to realize what can help you and what cannot.
Oh yeah.
Okay, everything that he just talked about, I'm really bad at. I take everything really deeply to heart, and I want to cry, and
I'm so sorry.
go eat like a giant tub of ice cream. No.
Was my neck long?
Extremely long. I don't know.
I have a really, really hard time not taking things to heart, and everyone says, you're too critical on yourself, you're gonna do fine, and I'm like, I don't think I'm going to. I think everything's just gonna catch on fire, and it's just gonna be bad. And then I have like a mini panic attack, and then, you know, paper bags are involved. It's not a fun time. But I'm trying to work on that, and any aspiring artist also needs to probably work on that. With me, we could be working on it, buddies, or something. So, like right now I'm kind of freaking out. I'm like, oh god, I made Fluttershy's ears fluffy. I thought it was cute. Apparently it's deformed. And I'm just like, all these prints are ruined. I can't sell them. Nobody's gonna. No, I can't.
Way to go.
Oh,
I think I
thank you.
quit Twilight for you today.
I know, it's okay. I'm not that freaked out.
I bought a
It's really cute.
Yeah.
I know, and I'm almost done with it. But anyway, that's all I have to say.
And that kind of has to deal with like, some of it has to deal with personal choice. Like a lot of people are gonna like the fluffy ears. Some people are just not gonna like it at all. So it's kind of important to find out like, you know, what is just a personal opinion on the thing, and what is actually like an artistic flaw on your part that you know might need to correct or something like that.
Well, as a person who writes a lot of critiques for several different art styles, the first thing I have to do when someone gives me a critique is identify if they have any idea what they're talking about. Because sometimes people just write critiques that are just like, oh, I don't like the way that you made it yellow. And it's Fluttershy, come on, man. It's too yellow. It's like, no. Why is Applejack yellow?
Your Fluttershy needs to look more like Rainbow Dash.
More like Rainbow Dash, yeah. So you really have to just discern what's good and what's bad and kind of make your own decisions on that, I think. Take everything with a grain of salt. You could give a critique that's really good and hits everything on the head, but you might not necessarily agree with it. So if you see something and someone suggests you to try something, just try it out. And if it works for you. And if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Okay, I gotta tell you about this. I got one critique on DeviantArt that was actually given to me. I thought it was the best critique I ever got. It was a pizza menu that someone actually put into a critique, and it was the greatest thing I've ever seen. But anyway, as far as critiques go, for me it's tricky because when I sift through a certain critique by someone who's giving it to me, I like to see, is it something that will affect the way that I'm doing my art currently? It's like, for example, I've been asked for several times to change in my comics the way I used to do the text inside the bubbles that I have. And I respected that, and I actually did change that, and to tell you the truth, I do like that now. But there was another critique that I keep getting every now and then where it's like, I don't like the way you actually do your text bubbles now. And I have found no issues with the way I do it, because I feel like if I change that, okay, it may be better in their eyes, but I still want to keep that own element of my own stuff into the piece I'm working on, or something like that. I feel like if I take too many critiques, even though I think it might be a little bit helpful, like the word bubbles thing or the text thing, okay, that's cool. But if it becomes something like really too much, like it becomes like their own art.